You know what, guys? Life is too short to be angry at people for stuff like Pokemon, game theories, or causing drama. I should really just relax, grab me a snow cone, and... screw it. But yeah, seriously, no drama on this video, no questionable morals of cheating, and no dog collars. We actually have a legit commentary talking about which Johto starter is the best. So let's click on the video and see how they determine which starter is the best.
Pick up your very own 50k special Eryizo t-shirt, available now only on Teespring for a limited time.
So apparently the best way to determine which Pokemon is the best is by promoting some merchandise in the first 5 seconds of the video. Well, that's a bit of a repellent to new viewers. But hey, it only lasts 8 seconds, and this is a 6.5 minute video, so... may my ever-trapped soul be granted mercy.
What is up, my Eryizo? And after countless amounts of requests wondering where this series has gone, I thought it was finally time to sit down and tell you guys what statistically is the best starter Pokemon in Johto.
Keep that in mind, it will come back and bite this video hard.
But it gets really lonely doing these kinds of videos. I have no friends. So I thought it would be a good idea to invite my good friend and so-called Gen 2 expert, MysticUmbreon, to join me today.
Gen 2 expert? I don't know about that, but I can definitely say Generation 2 is my favorite generation out of all the gens.
Nobody cares!
Boo! You stink!
Okay, that was a little mean, but can we please get onto the statistics? You're already over a minute into the video, and you've already stated your introduction with your co-op partner. You didn't even use much of a joke for that at this point either.
Of course, there is no right or wrong decision on what starter to pick, but there definitely is a best Pokemon to pick that would benefit you the most. Today, we're going to be traveling across Tojo Falls into the Johto region. And just so you know, we are not going to be covering the Kanto region in this video because by then, the player would already have a full-fledged team.
Gonna tuck that in my pocket as well, the full-fledged team portion, I mean.
If you want to see a video that covers the Kanto region, click the annotation here. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend.
Holy hell, you're asking for likes, subscriptions, and sharing at this point in the video? Look man, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, especially since you got a tub of subs already, but for some reason, doing this in the first 2 minutes of the mark video along with you advertising merchandise can come off as a bit as a desperation and really detracts people from watching your video. You already wasted 2 minutes of people's time with plugging your stuff, your co-op partner's channel, your previous video, and once again your t-shirt. It comes off as overwhelming. Hell, I was ready to just jump off this video at this point since it felt like you were just using this to promote yourself. And when that takes almost a third of the length of the video, along with the fact at the 5 minute and 43 second mark all the way to the ending is more self-promotion, the most we get for the actual content of the video is about 4 minutes to prove which starter of Johto was the best to go with. Needless to say, I think we're in for a bad time.
So in the Johto region, as well in every other region, the player has the choice of choosing 1 out of 3 starter Pokemon.
Thank you for stating the Pokemon facts that every Pokemon fan who would be interested in watching a Pokemon-themed video would already know. Pokemon! Don't you two trust your audience enough to think they would know what the starter Pokemon mechanics are?
In Johto, the starters are Cyndaquil the Fire type, Totodile the Water type, and Chikorita the Grass type. Since Chikorita is my favorite starter of all time, it has to be the best, right? Right? Eryizo?
Actually, Mystic, no, it's not. Chikorita, as a matter of fact, is the worst starter to pick.
No, it can't be. You're lying.
Unfortunately, Mystic, I'm not. If you do end up picking Chikorita as your starter, you're going to run into a lot of problems, especially early on in the game. Falkner's flying types would easily take down a Chikorita.
I've got a lot to say, and right here we have a big issue that'll plague the entire video, and these guys' reasoning. The fact they only go with the stars themselves for this. Is Chikorita weak to flying Pokemon? Yes, but more on that in a minute. What these two fail to take into account is the wild Pokemon you can catch before you even face Falkner. Before Violet City, you have a chance to catch a Geodude, a rock-type Pokemon from the Dark Cave. Or after Violet City, where you have access to Mareep, an electric type, both of which can easily mow through Falkner's team. Now addressing the weakness portion, only one move of one Pokemon on Falkner's team knows a move that's super effective against Chikorita. Gust, a special type move only used by Pidgeotto on Falkner's team. A Mon who's mainly used for physical attacking going by its stats, and Chikorita has a higher special defense. Heck, even casting out of size, if you raise your Chikorita to the same level as Pidgeotto, you'll have access, to, at least in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, to Poison Powder and Razor Leaf. 2 moves that'll still hurt the 2 birds even if you count in resistance. Remember!
Sit down and tell you guys what statistically is the best starter Pokemon in Johto.
You said you'd be going by statistics, but this is already breaking that because you two are making assumptions of what the average trainer would and wouldn't do. catch Pokemon, train their raid Pokemon, and only take into account type advantage in the battle. That's not really fair.
Not to mention that after that gym, you're gonna have to go up against Bugsy, and I don't care if you're a Bayleaf by then, that Scyther is kicking your grass.
Great! More assumptions. Let's look at Bugsy's team. Oh look, 2 Cocoons and then a Scyther. Yes, Scyther's U-turn can hurt Bayleaf, but at this point your Bayleaf has access to Reflect, a move that halves physical damage. If it's set up against Cocoon or Metapod the turn before you take them out, then Bayleaf can go up against Scyther rather easily. And this is ignoring the point I made before, that the trainer will obviously have caught more Pokemon. The Mareep from before is effective against Scyther's flying typing, you'll have access to Onix, Spearow, and Zubat as well, all of which can help defeat Scyther. Once again, you're just looking at blatant typing and not factoring other points that can quash your argument. Movesets, levels, and available wild Pokemon.
Well, that's true, I guess. Poor Chikorita gets no love. Plus also, after Bugsy, the player has to deal with Whitney's vicious Miltank and Morty's quad resistance to grass types. Gengar and Bayleaf are not a very good mix.
Now you're getting it.
Only if you go generalizing and not actually deliver statistics like you said you would. For Whitney, refer back to my points about Reflect, Poison Powder, Razor Leaf, and another move, Synthesis, that can heal your Bayleaf. Despite how they gloss over Whitney, the Chikorita line is arguably the best counter against the Miltank that apparently everyone but me had a hard time against. Seriously, I was a kid when I got Crystal version and used Chikorita, and I wiped the floor with that cow. But for Morty, last I checked, the Ghastly line only has a regular resistance to grass move, so either referring to the number of Pokemon that Morty uses, or you don't know what quad means, since the Ghastly line only halves the damage with only poison typing. Even then, Morty's Pokemon don't have any super effective moves against Bayleaf, and at this point, not only would you have a Togepi that can completely counter Morty with its normal typing, but you'll also have access to Hoot Hoot, which can learn Confusion, Drowsy, Kadabra, Stantler, which can learn Astonish and unaffected by ghost moves, and you get the point. I'm getting really tired of repeating myself with this.
Plus, it isn't really good late game either. Meganium gets destroyed by Koga, Karen, and Lance. You're better off just picking up a different grass-type Pokemon from the wild.
Well, now I know how horrible Chikorita is. Thanks, Eryizo.
Any reason why you skipped the rest of the gyms in Johto? Or did you realize that if you actually included them that your argument would be weaker? Seriously, if you look at the rest of the gym leaders in Johto region, Chikorita actually is pretty useful in the long run. While it's not the best against Jasmine, against her, it has resistances to our part electric Magnemites. Stakes loses any resistance to grass type attacks. Out of the 2 Pokemon that Chuck has, one of them is a Poliwrath, a part water type Pokemon. Despite being the ice type gym leader, all of Price's Pokemon have a typing that make them weak to grass. And against Claire, the only thing that Meganium has to fear is one of the Dragon Mare's Fire Blast, while 2 of Claire's Pokemon are water type. So congratulations on making the Chikorita line look a lot worse in those home games than what it actually is. And about that bit about the Elite Four complaints,
Player would already have a full-fledged team.
that right there negates that complaint you had, especially considering that at this point you should have a balanced team to cover Chikorita's weaknesses. And looking at the Elite Four, none of the 3 starters have a distinct advantage over the 4's Pokemon, and the only Pokemon that has an advantage overlooking Lance's team and their movesets, you disregard later. Hint hint, it's Feraligatr.
I suppose now it would be time to take a look at the water starter, Totodile. Totodile does pretty decently against Faulkner, Bugsy, Whitney, and Morty. By the time the player gets past Morty, they have plenty of time to build up a strong enough team to cover its weaknesses.
And the same could be said about Chikorita, so congratulations on showing your double standards here.
So it has to be the best starter, right?
Sorry to burst your bubble again, Mystic, but you're wrong. Again. While yes, all those points that you made were valid, I would have to say that Totodile is a balanced choice for a starter. Not the best. The reason for this is because it isn't necessarily weak or strong against any of the gyms in the region. It's just neutral, except for Claire and Price. They're just weird. Also,
Congratulations! You're just generalizing again. Let's look at the movesets, shall we? Learns Bite and Ice Fang, both moves that are generally really good against Ghost types and Dragon types. Not to mention, Steelix, Bark Ground type, Price's Pokemon's Ice type attacks aren't effective against water, and his Piloswine is weak to water. Heck, the Ryan can even learn Rock Smash as a fighting type move against Price's Dugong. You say it doesn't have any advantages, but congratulations, you just lied again to your audience by generalizing the gyms.
so by the time you get to those last 2 gyms, you should have a Pokemon that can counteract that weakness.
Actually, Magmar wouldn't be all that effective against Price since Price has 2 mons that both hold water typing. And Lapras? Yeah, I got nothing, but at this point, you'd have Surf and you would have evolved your Totodile into a Feraligatr since, guess what? Here's another advantage to Feraligatr. It reaches its final form at level 30. Making it the earliest level you can get a final evolution for a starter. Actual statistics of the Pokemon! And while Lapras may have a slight advantage in total base stats, 5-point difference, Feraligatr has a few more moves that can make it a bit more useful than Lapras, such as Earthquake, Crunch, Dragon Claw, and since Feraligatr is a physical sweeper, you can use it to its advantage. Sure, you can make arguments for either, but give the Gator some credit, you two.
Now that I think about it too, there are a lot better water types that can do the job better than Feraligatr. I can think of a few right off the top of my head too. Quagsire, Lapras, Slowbro, Slowking, Vaporeon, Poliwrath, Politoed. Shoot, even Octillery I think would be better.
Applies to each of the starters, not just Feraligatr.
I would love to bring up more examples, but there are so many good water types, it's hard to decide which one is best.
So that leaves us with one more Pokemon. The best starter in the Johto region is... Hey, stop! Do we really need a drumroll, Mystic?
It adds dramatic effect though. Plus it's Johto, so it has to be epic.
What? No, that's stupid. Just...
It also adds a bad joke into the mix, especially if one of the co-op partners admits it's a bad joke. It just makes it even more lackluster due to expanding the joke longer than it needed to be.
The best starter is Cyndaquil, okay? It's the best. It's the best starter. There. Freaking... God, I'm gonna leave now. Freaking...
Thanks for making the joke even longer.
So judging from all of the gyms, Cyndaquil does the best out of all the other starters in terms of doing super effective damage.
Warning! Warning! Bullshitter alert!
At most, it has super effective damage against Bugsy and Jasmine's teams.
Cyndaquil can really aid the player in the early parts of the game by being able to perform decently against Falconer.
Funny about that? That's not true. You wanna know why? Because if we look at the original games, you guys don't really say which games you're covering, which you probably should have mentioned at the beginning of the video, because both of Falconer's Pokemon in the original games know a specific move that can be a real hindrance to Cyndaquil, Mud Slap, a ground-type move. If you got on Chikorita's case for being weak to a single Pokemon's move that can easily counter it, then why does Cyndaquil get a pass when both of Falconer's Pokemon know a move that's more effective? Admittedly, this is the only original versions, like I said, but they don't distinguish which version of the games they're gonna go with this entire video. So I guess it's fair game for me, too.
And destroying Bugsy's bug types. However, once the player gets to Whitney, her Miltank can be horrifying, especially from her rollout.
I guess the cherry picking doesn't really extend to the higher level Poketubers, eh class? Chikorita can actually have a lot more solid strategy against Miltank, but these two are just gonna gloss over that. Lovely.
Besides that, it only has a few more problems, going against Price and Claire.
What's not so bad about those weaknesses, though, is that you won't have to fight Claire and Price until near the end of the game.
But here's the real issue. There's Chuck, Poliwrath, and Totodile doesn't have a distinct advantage over Morty either, not even with the movesets unlike Totodile.
By then, you should have a full party of 6 that can help cover those weaknesses.
Again, hypocrisy! Why does this apply to Cyndaquil and Totodile lines but not to Chikorita?
And with Whitney, all the starters struggle against her, so just trade the NPC for the Machop and you're good.
Chikorita doesn't have a hard time. You didn't even bother talking about her during the Chikorita segment.
With all these facts in mind, it's no wonder why most people pick Cyndaquil to start off their journey.
You two don't have facts. You have cherry-picked information and generalizations, and this video has already proven you both wrong. And the fact you don't even go into movesets or specific team members of the gym leaders proves you just glossed over everything here. And I'm ending the video here, since the last 58 seconds of the video is just more self-promotion for the guy. Look, the issue I have is that what you two use for statistics and words, that's what people expect. But considering that neither of you two do that in this video, it comes off as grating and insulting the people who actually know that you're full of BS. This video might have had some clever editing, but the points in here are just so baffling that if I had a lower jaw, it'd be on the floor right now. You cherry-picked. You were lazy with your points. You generalized the gym leaders and their Pokemon, and you showed a lot of double standards here that could easily make my head spin. And this is the content that nets a person on nearly 100,000 subs. Really? Really?